All right, so President Trump, I'm going to be honest with you. I was shocked by this. President Trump has pardoned former Tennessee House Speaker Glenn Casada and his former chief of staff, Cothren. Now, the reason I'm so surprised by this, when all of this went down back in like 2018, 2019, 2020, I covered this extensively. And so I'm just going to tell you, I'm surprised that the president did this because in my humble talk show host opinion, the evidence was there to convict them. So also involved in this, and I've got all kinds of video with this. So watch the Super Text line and also the Super Talk TV. Also involved was a state representative out of Hickson, Robin Smith. You remember her? After Casada and Cothren, they were convicted on charges related to bribery and kickbacks. So let's retrace just a little bit. You've got to go back to 2022. The accusation that Casada and his former chief of staff, a guy by the name of Cothren, and Representative Smith started this bogus company called Phoenix Solutions, where they printed up mailers for politicians, but ultimately this was a fake company, and they were getting kickbacks. Now, prosecutors said that they received more than $35,000 in bribes and kickbacks because, again, this company, Phoenix Solutions, they did all of these services, was secretly run by Cothren and Glenn Casada and this Robin Smith. But nobody knew it at the time in the State House. And so you had Glenn Casada. The accusation was that you had Glenn Casada running around at the time as the former speaker. We'll get into that. But you had Glenn Casada running around trying to convince people to use this Phoenix Solutions for, their mailers and other political stuff, whatever it was. But nobody knew it at the time that it was actually owned or being run by Cothren. By the way, the disgraced Cothren. Again, it was called Phoenix Solutions, and Cothren used a fake name, Matthew Phoenix, to hide his identity. This was from Channel 5.
While the need for secrecy, at the time, Casada and Cothren still had, quote, radioactive reputations after a texting scandal first uncovered by News Channel 5 Investigates. The prosecution revealed their desire to hide their involvement also included lying on their Tennessee Ethics Commission forms. Casada and Smith did not disclose they made money off of Phoenix Solutions as a part of their income.
All right. So, again, that was from Channel 5 at the time. So that texting scandal, we touched on this in the 5, but that texting scandal was really bad between Casada and Cothren. So there were these text messages that went back and forth that were very, misogynistic and sexually explicit, racist and lewd. They were so bad. And this was when Casada was the Speaker of the Tennessee House. And so they were so bad that Governor Bill Lee actually threatened a special session to remove Glenn Casada from the speakership if he didn't step down himself. And the Republicans in the House passed a no confidence vote against him as well. That's how bad these text messages were. And that was the first time that ever happened in Tennessee history. And so Casada ultimately ended up stepping down because of the texting scandal, but he was still in the state legislature for another couple of years. He just didn't have any leadership role. And so then the case, ultimately going back to the case regarding Phoenix Solutions, the case ultimately went before a grand jury, and he was indicted, and then a jury trial. And so Glenn Casada was convicted on 14 counts: conspiracy, honest services fraud, bribery, theft, money laundering. Cothren has similar charges as well. And so this was a situation. And by the way, Robin Smith, that other state lawmaker, she dropped the dime on him. She ultimately ended up cooperating with the prosecution against Casada and Cothren. And so the evidence was there. And Donald Trump has decided now to pardon these two. At the time that all of this started, Casada was no longer speaker. Again, he was forced to step down. He was still in the State House, and he was accused at the time of trying to pressure his colleagues of getting work done for this company that he was involved in. Then he got kickbacks. And so people started asking questions. And so they went to the current speaker, Cameron Sexton, who did his own investigation. And then Cameron Sexton did indeed call the authorities.
Smith shared how she also used her influence as a committee chair and sitting lawmaker to speed up getting paid by the state. She said, quote, I had inside access. I made sure she, as in Connie Ridley, who handled state contracts, remembered I was a chairman.
All right, so as I said, again, that's reporting from Channel 5 at the time. Smith ends up cooperating with the authorities and testified against the other two. She ended up pleading guilty to wire fraud. And by the way, there's no word. Her lawyer, Robin Smith's lawyer, is trying to get her a pardon as well. So far, we don't know if she's received a pardon. She is sentenced to 8 months in prison. They had a 4-week trial, and they were convicted of more than a dozen public corruption charges. Here's more that was discovered again, and I can't say this enough. This was what they discovered at the jury trial.
We also got a better idea of how the trio split their profits. Smith showed emails she received from Cothren showing how Cothren would receive 30% of the profits on the mailers. Casada and Smith would each receive 25%, and 20% would remain in the company. At the time of that email, April 2020, Phoenix Solutions had made about $16,000. The defense has long contended all of this money was honestly made and shouldn't be considered a kickback. And then there was this bombshell. We've told you a lot about how Kate Cothren used a fake identity, Matthew Phoenix, in this scheme. Well, we now know of a second fake name that was used, Candace McKay. She was supposed to be an accountant, and that email account was run by a former girlfriend of Kate Cothren's. The jury also heard a recorded phone call between West Tennessee lawmaker Ron Gant and Robin Smith, in which Smith gave more elaborate fake details about this company to him and lied about many of the actual details.
So there you go. A judge, by the way, if you think, oh, this was a Biden judge. No. A judge named Eli Richardson presided over the case, and he is a Trump nominee and obviously later confirmed. Now, they were due to report to prison in just days. Kate Cothren was supposed to report to prison November 17th. That was going to be a 2.5-year term. Glenn Casada on the 21st, right before Thanksgiving, he was looking at a 3-year term. Casada, by the way, just to get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, Casada also had to pay a $30,000 fine, repay $4,600. Kate Cothren had to pay a $25,000 fine and to repay the money he earned through that bogus consulting firm. So apparently, President Trump called Glenn Casada personally, and the White House said that Biden's DOJ was basically out of control and that these two, maybe these three, they were overcharged. That's what people are saying within, the contingency that believed that they should have been pardoned. I desperately want to know, because I don't think President Trump did the right thing here. I just don't. They were indicted with a grand jury. They were found guilty by a jury of their peers. And I remember, as somebody brought this up on the super text line, that Glenn Casada, I'd forgotten about this. I mean, clearly I don't have the audio anymore, but Glenn Casada was on with Phil Valentine, and Casada had lied to Phil about all of these things. And when the truth started to spill out, I mean, I remember it was a very heated conversation between Uncle Phil and Glenn Casada. So Trump, apparently somebody in Tennessee got this case in front of Donald Trump, and Trump decided that it would be a good thing to pardon these two. And I'm just going to tell you that I, as a guy who voted for Donald Trump, I'm always defending Donald Trump. I can't defend this. I don't understand. I want to know who brought this in front of the president, because I don't believe that the president knew all the details on this. So, I mean, when we have the Daily Dan poll up and good majority of the people disagreed with President Trump on this, on these pardons. What is it now?
Yeah, still holding steady at 78% of people disagreeing.
Yeah,
that was the move.
The people over at Tennessee Stands, I thought this was interesting. The people over at Tennessee Stands, they posted this last night on X, just staying with this Glenn Casada, Cade Cothren thing. Here's what they posted. Breaking. Glenn Casada and Cade Cothren pardoned by President Trump. Then they said this. The general public, unfortunately, has no idea how involved, and they tagged Cameron Sexton, at Cameron Sexton 25, whatever, was in all of this as a ploy to secure his role as Speaker. Tennessee Stands goes on to say you cannot fathom how corrupt and morally bankrupt these people really are. So I read that, and basically what they're saying is that Cameron Sexton turned in Glenn Casada to the feds so that Sexton could ultimately move into the Speaker's chair. And I was tagged in this by somebody, I don't know who, but I got tagged in it. So here's the truth. And I'm trying to get the Speaker of the House in. But I told Tennessee Stands, your timeline is wrong, which it is. Cameron Sexton became Speaker after Casada had to step down due to Casada's texting scandal in 2019. In early 2021, Sexton then discovered the Phoenix Solutions scandal after receiving internal complaints and went to authorities then. And if he didn't go to authorities, if Cameron Sexton didn't go to the authorities, he could be complicit as well. I mean, Sexton was even, going to testify because I think they were compelling him to testify, Cameron Sexton. So to say that Sexton was involved to secure his role as Speaker is not only incorrect, I believe it's defamatory. This bogus company, Phoenix Solutions, didn't even begin operations until after Sexton became the Speaker. And look, it's not my job to stand up for Cameron Sexton or Jack Johnson or anybody in the state legislature. They're certainly able to do that themselves, but for the people at Tennessee Stands, and I know that I'm going to get blasted for this, but the people at Tennessee, unless I'm mistaken, and I very well could be, but to say that Sexton did this, dropped the dime on Casada so that he could rise to the speakership. Sexton was already the speaker because Casada was forced to step down because of the texting scandal.
It all still pales in comparison. This is like the first gaffe. People wanted to get on to Trump about the January 6th pardons because some of those people went on to commit other crimes. January 6th, as we know it, was a bit of a trap by the Capitol Police at that event. But if we look at the previous administration, Anthony Fauci, January 6th committee, Biden family members.
Well, and here's the thing, just staying on this. You are going to have a couple of, here's what I'm going to say. Just because somebody's got an R next to their name doesn't mean that they're innocent. Republicans do bad stuff too, folks. And so you're going to have two sides to this. Some Republicans are going to say, well, this is great. Because, it was Biden's DOJ, and everything they might have done against Republicans had to be corrupt, right? Biden's DOJ, always going after Republicans. Okay. But Republicans in the state legislature might have a different feeling about all of this. So, again, my feeling is, and I'm not here to go after Tennessee Stands. That's not my deal, and that's not my vibe. I'm also not here to defend anyone. I'm just calling this as I see it. But I don't believe that somebody is innocent just because they have an R next to their name. As a matter of fact, if you're a Republican and you see somebody either doing something nefarious or you see the evidence and you believe that they are guilty of doing nefarious things and you believe that they're innocent just because they have an R next to their name, no. Republicans are all about accountability. Oh, and by the way, two things can be true.
Yes,
Joe Biden.
I was waiting for you to get to the two things to be true at once part.
Two things can be true. Joe Biden certainly had a corrupt DOJ, and Cade Cothren and Glenn Casada were found guilty by a jury of their peers, and they were indicted by a grand jury as well. And the judge was a Trump appointee. And so my feeling is, look, if these guys were indicted by that grand jury, found guilty by a jury of their peers, then they should do their time. Again, not to belabor the point, I know that it was Biden's DOJ, but you literally had lawmakers complaining about what these guys were doing. So I don't know.
When you weaponize the DOJ, you open up the door to people making pardons that shouldn't happen.
And I don't know. I don't think that they should have been pardoned. And I can say that as a guy that is a fan of Donald Trump. I've been a defender of Donald Trump. I can't defend this one. I just can't. So anyway, whatever.
Who's your guess on who brought it to him?
That's what I want to know. Joan and I were talking about this. The first thing we said to each other, who brought this to Donald Trump? And because somebody within the Trump administration basically rubber stamped this through.
Somebody
that's
had
my
to go
opinion.
to him and put this idea in his head. It didn't come to. Who knows who he knows? But do you really think he knows Cothren or
No.
Casada? No,
No.
So somebody put this in his head.
What's your
and
guess?
I'm wondering why. And so Dan and I, the first person we talked about was Andy Ogles.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know why that occurred to me. Dan, maybe you can speak to it.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that name came up, but I know that it wouldn't be Scott Desjardins. I don't know if it's Andy Ogles or not, but I know that it wouldn't be Scott Desjardins.
It wouldn't be Marsha Blackburn.
Would
It wouldn't
Marsha?
be
No.
either of the senators. And it sure as heck wouldn't be John Rose. So I'm just curious as to who brought. You know what? I'm gonna do some digging.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Who are
Dan
the-
digging.
You
Who
have
are the
to.
names? Who do local muckety mucks believe may have put this in front of Donald Trump's team? Because you think Donald Trump got through all this detail that I just went through? No, absolutely not.
No, and here's another thing I'm wondering. It's been so obvious that Susie Wiles has been able to corral President Trump, like keep him in his lane. Why is this going wrong? Like that certainly is a decision that I just can't believe that she thought was a good idea or didn't counsel him on. It's troubling that he made that decision, and it just doesn't seem like it's a one that his handlers from early on in this administration, the current administration, would have said, yeah, go ahead and do that. That's a good idea.
All right. And by the way, 4702 says there is a newspaper article that names it. Oh, by the way, so now we've got 4858 that says this morning show has absolutely gone to garbage.
Oh, well.
See, I knew. What did I say? What did I say when I started this?
Yeah.
I said you're going to have some Republicans that are going to be bashing me because they think that I'm going against the Republican Party. No, I think that conservatives and Republicans need to hold people accountable. And to me, Casada and Cothren has nothing to do with the whole texting scandal. Has nothing to do with that. To me, looking at the evidence and living through all this stuff, it just seems to me like this was a pardon that should not have happened. 626. Joan, what's coming up in the news?
Dan, so we're getting you ready for some severe weather for today, and also something that Americans have turned to for hundreds of years is about to disappear. Those stories at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, 626, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, certainly, and boy, people are responding. Well, you know what the thing is, Joan? I just can't help but piss people off this week. And I'm usually not a host that pisses off a lot of people, but I don't care.
Well, listen.
I'm not going to start singing "Let It Go."
Thank you.
I'm still listen. I'm maybe the problem is I had that hairy fig yesterday, courtesy of Joan Jones.
It wasn't a hairy fig.
It was a hairy fig.
It was, and I think there was a piece of hair on it. Like maybe when I gave it to you, a piece of my hair fell out.
Whatever. It was a hairy fig. Real quickly, Joan and Sam, I want to just throughout the morning today, because the Democrats refuse, in fact, this is a headline on CNN right now, Democrats expected to block GOP push to reopen the government.
Yeah, there's a big push on right now. There's supposed to be some bipartisan negotiations happening.
And
nothing's
not
happening.
They're not
Yeah.
happening. Remember, we're talking about that just real quickly, if I can finish a thought, because I'm a little scattered this morning. But airport delays out of BNA. I think we need to keep track of that.
I was just going to tell you about that. I'm seeing on Flight View that both departures and arrivals are 86% on time. So, yeah, there are some late flights, but I think you kind of run into that every day. This doesn't appear to be anything so far that is causing like a huge mess at BNA. So, of course, and you do it anyway when you're traveling and you've got a flight coming up, you're always checking to make sure that the flight's on time. Keep doing that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think there's a lot of concern about the flights, especially this weekend. And it's like what I said yesterday. I feel like this is Russian roulette. I feel like the Democrats are playing Russian roulette with American lives. And so this, at least to me, this is beyond the pale. I mean, people could, you know how the Democrats are always saying, oh, people are going to die. I am literally saying, because it could happen, people are going to die.
Yes.
And it'll be the Democrats' fault.
So when the FAA issued this reduction in flights, they said 10%, right? So that 10% doesn't start out 10% right away. We're at 4% today. It's going to tick up through the week and through the weekend and then through the week, and it'll become 10%. So right now it's only 4%.
Right.
But that means that you can expect things are going to get worse. So right now, fly now. Fly now, and then
you fly now.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you get back home.
Yeah.
But have an alternate plan to get home, like maybe, for example,
rent a car.
And
drive long distance. Turn on the tunes.
So I guess the people that said that after Mamdani was elected as mayor of New York, the people that were saying they're going to come back now, the Democrats going to come back now that the elections are over, that they'll come back and negotiate faithfully with Donald Trump, and in good faith. That's clearly not happening.
Right. Because
they are, and we read that letter yesterday. Sam, do you have that letter just real quick? Can you look up that letter where you had Hakeem Jeffries, and then I'm going to get on to some other stuff, but you had Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, and they sent a letter basically demanding that Trump negotiate with them, which is fine. I actually have no problem with this. But it was how they worded the letter that it was clear that they have no interest in having, in good faith negotiations with Donald Trump, because the tone of this letter, they know exactly how, not even Donald Trump, they know how anyone would react to a letter worded in this way.
Dear President Trump, we write to demand a bipartisan meeting of legislative leaders to end the GOP shutdown of the federal government and decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis. Democrats stand ready to meet with you face-to-face anytime and any place. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I mean, just, you know what? Very, just confrontational. Is the word.
I feel like they were laughing at each other as they wrote it.
Oh, yeah. We're going to own the president, and then we're going to release this to everybody, right?
Yeah.
So the Democrats don't really want a solution. You know what's stunning to me? What is stunning to me is that the Democrats actually think that they have a winning hand here. That's what is surprising. I know earlier this week they won all those elections. I know, and I understand that. But I don't think that they've got a winning hand here. But Democrats probably do believe that they've got a winning hand here. Whatever. But I think that the longer that this goes, the worse it's going to be for the Democrats. I mean, listen, the headline on CNN, Dems set to block GOP push to end the shutdown without health care fix. So, in other words, you could have stopped at the first, 6, 7 words. Dems set to block GOP push to end the shutdown. So that sentence, look at the construction of the sentence. The GOP wants to end the shutdown, and the Democrats are blocking it. This is going on, I guess, right now, Joan was saying. So, yeah. Again, playing Russian roulette with American lives. This is what the Democrats are doing. And it is absolutely disgusting. Now, speaking of absolutely disgusting, Joan, you remember that guy that was shooting up Nashville yesterday?
Yeah, I do.
Was that yesterday or the day before?
It was the day before, but yeah.
Need some video here. There's a guy who, and I don't know if we talked about this on the air or off the air, but turns out now the guy that was shooting up Nashville day before yesterday, and we talked about it here on Nashville's Morning News yesterday. Well, it turns out it looks like he was an illegal alien. Shocking, says no one. This is
I was trying to find that information. I knew it.
Yeah, this is Fox 17. Hope Salman.
Metro Police say this all started right here in the Plaza Mariachi parking lot. They say that suspect drove through firing the rifle, and that sparked a manhunt that lasted more than an hour. When Metro Police say 24-year-old Marcos Palacios Amaya walked into Plaza Mariachi grocery store Wednesday morning with an AR-15.
Can't imagine why we would have thought that he was an illegal alien.
Yeah.
You know what he said?
I can't even imagine.
He said, well, yeah, I was just firing the gun.
To scare
people. Yeah.
Investigators say Palacios Amaya admitted to firing shots at several locations in South Nashville to scare people. He also claimed to have shot at locations in Laverne early in the morning. Police ended chasing Palacios Amaya through South Nashville before using a spike strip near Bell Road and Stewart's Ferry Pike. Fox 17 News did some digging and found he's on probation for felony theft in Rutherford County. He also has theft and auto burglary convictions in Williamson County.
There you go. So now apparently he's got an ice hold. Can I ask a question? So when Aftyn Bain...
This is great. We've got our girl squad and we're bullying the ICE vehicles and state troopers. So this is a win.
when Aftyn Bain and her girl squad are running around trying to bully and impede ICE from doing their jobs, you know what they're doing, right, folks? I want to make sure you understand. What they're doing is they are trying to protect dirtbags like this because dirtbags like this are who ICE is trying to arrest. I hope to God that people know this. I know that you people do because you listen to WTN and you understand these things. But this is why that election for the 7th, man, I'm telling you what, this is so important.
This is great. We've got our girl squad and we're bullying the ICE vehicles and state troopers. So this is a win.
Wait, can I ask a question? What if this dude had shot and killed somebody? What if he had shot and killed somebody? Again, this is the kind of person ICE is trying to arrest. I know you were reporting this earlier as well, Joan.
What's that?
Yesterday, we talked about how the Nashville Homeland Security Task Force arrested a bunch of bad guys.
Yeah, 35 or 38.
38. Yeah. We find out they busted 38 people, including 8 members and associates of MS-13. Charges include trafficking of fentanyl, meth, cocaine, carjacking, assault on law enforcement, and immigration offenses as well. And, you know, I will just remind people like Aftyn Bain how incredibly important law enforcement actually is.
This is great. We've got our girl squad and we're bullying the ICE vehicles and state troopers.
Sure.
So this is a win.
Sure. In United States versus Tolliver, 12 defendants were charged with trafficking in fentanyl sourced from outside the United States, as well as multiple federal firearms charges. This was out in Crossville, where they've experienced a spike in the number of overdose deaths linked to fentanyl. Some of those overdoses are alleged to be connected to the trafficking activities of these defendants. The lead agents were the FBI, the TBI, and the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, with assistance from HSI, the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, and the Tennessee Highway Patrol. So there you have it. So, and I love that they're doing this. I mean, they're opening up that. What is the office called, Joan? Do you have that in front of you?
I do. It is called the Homeland. Oh, the new office for
Homeland Security. Nashville Homeland Security Task Force.
So that's one. So this is different. There's also the task force that was set up yesterday. The task force call line that was set up yesterday to help find undocumented children.
Oh, how dare they?
Yeah.
You know what?
Well, they want to find the undocumented children to send them back home. And, you know, there's a little freak out happening over that. But what these kids were taken and given to sponsors who had no familial relation to these children.
Sometimes they were actually like
back and forth. Here's what they do. They take these kids and they would send them across the border, because if you had kids, you were kind of ushered right in.
Yes.
And so then they would ship these kids, back to, let's just say, Guatemala or Honduras.
Yes.
And they would recycle the kid back and forth. They'd give them a new ID in Honduras, and then they would traffic these same people, use these same kids over and over again. And now they're here and the drug cartels, by the way, were behind this sometimes. And so the Trump administration is now trying to find these kids and get them back with their parents, who might be somewhere in America. You never know with Joe Biden, or they might be back in Honduras.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows.
Not that long ago, the task force out in Memphis found missing children, 88 missing kids in Memphis, the Memphis Safe Task Force. So, there were 88 children that were recovered. Now, not all of them are going to be undocumented children, but there were 88 kids found. We should be celebrating that. And instead, these people are losing their minds over ICE being in their cities.
Yeah, Aftyn Bain, she is bullying ICE. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and put all of these different agencies under the umbrella of law enforcement. So I would say to Aftyn Bain, if you're bullying ICE, you are bullying the Border Patrol, you're bullying the Tennessee Highway Patrol, you're bullying TBI, you're bullying all of these law enforcement agencies who are simply trying to find, number one, missing children. Number two, MS-13 gang members. Number three, drug manufacturers and drug runners who are killing people. Number four, you're trying to protect, gang members, et cetera. That's what Aftyn Bain stands for. And to me, I believe that this should be one of the biggest issues that people in the 7th Congressional District vote on. You've got the military in the 7th Congressional District up there with Fort Campbell. And so if I wasn't in the military, but if I'm in the military and I see somebody going after and trying to bully law enforcement while preening for the camera, that's a person that does not deserve to represent the 7th Congressional District.
Some of these kids were placed in homes, not necessarily the sponsor themselves, but some were placed in homes with sex offenders. Mm-hmm. Somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 kids were unaccompanied coming into this country during the Biden administration.
Yep.
And that, in my mind, personally, that should be priority one when they do these raids, is finding those kids first. Then let's get to the people that we need to kick out of the country.
And so what does that say about Aftyn Bain? Because I want to bring
she
it
wants
back
to kill kids in the first place. She,
sure,
filed that lawsuit about being able to have abortions out of state.
Yeah, that's part of Aftyn Bain's claim to fame. So, to me, I think that her bullying of law enforcement, it says a heck of a lot more about Aftyn Bain than it does about
I wouldn't even call
law
it,
enforcement.
I wouldn't even call it bullying. She just virtue say, like, you think the ICE agent's like, oh my God, Aftyn Bain? Oh.
No. But remember what she was doing in a bigger context. You have ICE agents and Border Patrol who are constantly being doxxed and under attack. So when she was running out and bullying the ICE agents, and remember the other thing that she did was she was on, I guess it was either Instagram or TikTok, and she's essentially streaming where they are, putting them at risk.
Yeah.
So
and putting the civilians at risk. They've said it time and time again. If these Democrat cities would arrest the people they know to be here unlawfully and put them in the jail, then ICE just has to go to the jail and nobody in the general public gets involved.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Common sense goes out the door.